Hey Gearheads, and welcome to Garage Talk. I'm Corey, and that is Audi's latest e-tron model. This is the Q4 Sportback e-tron all-electric crossover SUV. And in this video, I'm going to tell you my 5 favorite things about this, and maybe 5 things that not so much. Stay tuned. This video is brought to you by e-tron EV chargers. More about them at the end of the video and down in the description below. All right, Gearheads, so the first thing that I want to say as one of my likes of this vehicle is the styling of it. It is perhaps one of my favorite sport utility vehicle coupes, or SUV coupes, if you will, that seem to be sweeping the nation. Mercedes has got several, the GLE, the GLC. This is more the GLC size vehicle, but I really like the overall design theme of this vehicle. Now, this does share a platform with the Volkswagen ID.4, and there are a lot of similarities to that vehicle, to that size, and to how the vehicle works, and we'll get into that here in just a little bit. But you can see up front here, we have the traditional Audi grille, which isn't actually a grille. It's completely closed off because there's no internal combustion engine to feed air into, but the lower grille is actually open to help cool the batteries and everything you need there. We do have LED headlights, LED turn signals, no LED fog lights in this. Audi doesn't really do traditional fog lights on their vehicles, but very traditional Audi face on this, even with that closed off grille. So we move along to the side here, we get these very nice 10-spoke aluminum alloy wheels wrapped in Bridgestone Alenza rubber. So these are 235/50 R20-inch rubber wrapped around these multi-spoke wheels, and you can see we've got disc brakes up here in the front, but moving along to the back here, we actually have drum brakes, 20-inch wheels that can be seen through, and drum brakes in the rear. Very interesting choice there. Now, most EVs do use regenerative braking, so they use traditional brakes less, so perhaps that's why Audi chose that route for the rear brakes. But then moving around to the side here, you can see the SUV coupe proportions, that plunging rear roofline. You can get the Q4 in the non-Sportback, which has your more traditional SUV shape back here. But yes, this is very clearly an SUV coupe, and I think it is one of the better implementations of this shape, of this design. As we move around here to the back, you can see we get LED sequential taillights back here, an LED light bar that runs across the entire back. And I really, really like these sequential turn signal taillights. That is a cool look, as is the design here on the running lights of the taillights back here in the back. This same design treatment is echoed in the puddle lamps that are projected from underneath the rear view mirrors at night. Gives it a really cool look. Moving to the very back, it's a little hunchback-ish from this angle, and it seems to be a growing trend, especially here in EVs, to have a spoiler that splits the back window. We saw it on the Genesis GV60, which is very similar to this in size and proportions. Very comparable vehicle, and it's just an interesting look. We'll talk more about that when we get inside, but yeah, just a little bit different look back here on the back. But yes, overall, this is a very cute and very stylish little crossover electric vehicle. And yeah, I'll go ahead and call it out. It is quattro all-wheel drive, and this is perhaps one of my favorite design elements right here, this line that runs along the back. But number one like of this vehicle is the styling elements here on the outside. And why don't we go ahead and move on to the inside, because there are a few things in there that I really like as well. So the interior does call back to the S3 or A3, pardon, that we had earlier here on the channel. Very similar design themes up front with the touchscreen infotainment. and the digital cockpit. Very familiar Audi interior in this one, so not a lot going on there. Comfortable seats, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but very familiar styling. But the interesting part here is this bottle holder. All 4 doors have that bottle holder. In fact, I'm gonna grab a trusty bottle of water and show you exactly what that's like. So very nice feature here on the Q4, and as I did mention, all 4 doors actually have those bottle holders built into them. So again, number 1 like styling and some different treatments both inside and out on this. So I've moved inside for my number 1 dislike. That kind of goes hand in hand with the styling that I do like in this, and the rake of the windshield makes this dashboard enormous. So I grew up a fan of the 4th generation Camaro. Like, that is the car that made me love cars in the first place. And the constant critique as I was growing up reading that, every single journalist mentioned how big the dashboard was on that. This is that dashboard. It is absolutely massive. It is very long, and it just goes with the rake of this windshield that makes this dash so huge. There are some interesting materials up here, and this is a textured, very softly padded material up here. So nice materials up here all the way around, but very large dashboard. So that's one thing. And then the other, if you can see right here, looking in the rear view mirror, trying to look out that small back window, you have that spoiler splitting the lower part of the window, but kind of small rear view mirror here in its own right, but it doesn't need to be too big because that rear window is kind of small. So again, really like the styling of this, but the styling has kind of played some negative consequences here on the inside with the massive dashboard and that rather small rear window with a rather small rear view mirror. So very interesting there. And then there's some interesting style choices in here when it comes to storage and different things. So I'll normally drop something right here. I've had friends drop cell phones there for storage in most vehicles, but not here, not in this one, because it is completely open. I found that out the hard way. I dropped the key in here thinking it would stop, and it went all the way to the bottom tray here. I already mentioned I really like the bottle holders here in the door. That worked really well on my road trip, but very interesting there. We do get 2 cup holders here, but they're very low. Interesting that they didn't bring them up or make like some sort of bridge here for some more storage underneath, because all the storage here in the center console is rather low. Your Qi wireless charger is right here. It works really well. You've got this clip here to hold it in place. I've had no complaints with that. You do get all USB-C ports in this one. So you get 2 up front, 2 in the back, a little power outlet right here, and then more storage right here, just a flat storage space underneath your little tiny bridge right here. It almost has too much gloss black plastic on it and not much else. You don't even need that start button. We'll get to it in a little bit. So interesting storage options up there. And then your glove box is rather huge, but if anyone is sitting here at all, it's gonna fall down onto their knees. But you can see it is damped, so it doesn't just come crashing down on you. So that's rather nice. I do like, it is massive, which makes up for the fact that the center console here is rather small. It's very deep, so I can almost go into my elbow there. It's rather deep, but the opening is small. It gets a little wider as it goes down, but kind of oddly proportioned. And then you do get a sliding center console, so if you want to bring it forward to rest your arms on, and it does lock into place. But just some interesting style choices in here that work against it in the negative direction. And then the steering wheel, like, this isn't a round steering wheel. I've actually counted, it's more of an octagon. So 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, and then 4 more repeating all the way around. Very interesting design choice. And this little knob right here, if you're holding like down here, is poking you right in your palm of your hand. So again, just interesting design choices all the way around in this one. Getting the style out of the way brings me to my number 2 like of this vehicle, and that is the powertrain. I'll go ahead and pop the hood on this vehicle because, well, that's where you typically talk about powertrains, but no, there is no gas engine underneath here. There are just the electrical components, and this is a fully electric vehicle. As I mentioned while talking about the styling earlier, this is a quattro all-wheel drive model, so it does have dual motors front and rear for all-wheel drive, but you can get a rear drive unit as well. This one just has quattro all-wheel drive, so you can get rear-wheel drive. I do like that the base configuration of both this and the Volkswagen ID.4 is rear-wheel drive, and you can opt up for all-wheel drive. But the electric powertrain in this does make 295 horsepower, 339 pound-feet of torque. This is not geared to be sporty, so the last EV we had was the Kia EV6 GT, absolutely meant to be just a blast of a fun car to drive. This is more of a luxury car and is meant to be driven as such. So it can sprint for a vehicle this size, 0 to 60 in 5.8 seconds, top speed of 121 miles per hour. And the effective size of the battery in this is 76.6 kilowatt. So you get a decent amount of range on this one. We've seen upwards of 240 in our time with this when charged to 100%. So very nice powertrain. It rides very smoothly, very well. And you know what? Why don't we cut to a little bit of me driving it right now, just to show you. Going back to that quattro all-wheel drive, you do know that you've got traction when you need it, where you need it. So that's very nice. And while this is definitely no Kia EV6 GT like we had on the channel last week, it is still a fun little vehicle that'll get out and go when you press the go pedal down below you. So it is no slouch by any means, especially in a vehicle of this size in this class. I remember when 0 to 60 times in the sub 6 second was quick for a muscle car, much less a family SUV crossover type vehicle. So very good power in this. Being that it's an electric vehicle, the power is instantaneous as soon as you jab your foot down, which makes for great commuting, great vehicles in traffic. You can just get out and around any vehicle that may be in your way. You can merge onto highways very easily. Everything about EVs makes for very good luxury branded vehicles, comfort vehicles, which is exactly what this is. Audi is a premium brand. This is a very premium product, and you feel that getting in behind the wheel, getting out and driving it. It moves when you want it to, goes how you want it to. Sure, it's not the sportiest vehicle in the world, but that's not why you're buying this one. You're buying this one because it's good, quiet, comfortable, and should get you where you want to go very easily. Overall drivability of this vehicle is very good. It is solidly built, doesn't creak, doesn't rattle, very good luxury vehicle. And with no gas motor under the hood, there's no explosions happening in front of me. It's a pretty quiet vehicle as well. Very buttoned together, everything you would expect from a German luxury vehicle. Quiet, buttoned down, put together, very easy to drive, very comfortable to drive, but we'll get more into comfort here in a little bit. Because these seats, spoiler alert, pretty good. And if we're talking about an electric vehicle, that brings me to my number 2 dislike here inside. I am a little tired today because just yesterday I got back from a nearly 500-mile road trip in this exact vehicle down to South Texas, the Houston area, and back from here in East Texas. And the range. We've got to talk about the range. We've got to talk about the infrastructure. I won't spoil tomorrow's video, which goes into detail about that road trip, but it got a little hairy there. And again, I did mention around 240 miles of range in this has been the largest we've seen. You can see here we're at 77% and 161 miles of range to go. In our nearly 700 miles with it, we are averaging a very efficient 3 miles per kilowatt hour, and you can see our average speed. So this has been mixed city and highway driving. Again, I did take it down to Houston and back, and all that is accounted for in this number. most of that, nearly 500 miles of that was our road trip yesterday in this. So you can see this number doesn't mean a lot to many people, maybe in the EV space, but that is actually rather efficient for a small vehicle like this that was not built from the ground up as an electric vehicle. So no skateboard platform here on this one, but this one is designed to be an electric. There's just a lot of details that I don't have the time in this video to go over. But yeah, the range, not my favorite in this after experiencing it. And this is built on a slower charging platform. So the max charging power it can accept is 150 kilowatts. And again, I don't want to spoil tomorrow's video, but we didn't see that. I'll just leave it at that. In optimum conditions, it can go from 5 to 80% battery in 36 minutes. So just overall, not as quick as some other vehicles built with an 800 volt architecture that can charge, like that Kia EV6 GT, from 10 to 80% in just 18 minutes. So in a environment where chargers are not everywhere right now, the closest one to us, headed the way we went, was 2 hours south of us. It's a tough pill to swallow, and I don't believe the 240-ish miles of range in this is quite enough for me in my life situation right now. Maybe for you, maybe you are in a densely populated area, lots of chargers around you, but for me, it probably wouldn't work for us as a family. All right, for my number 3 like, I had to get back out of the vehicle because my number 3 like is the technology in this vehicle. And one of the coolest features, well, I just have to show you. So it does have proximity keyless entry. You can just walk up to it, pull the door handle with the key in your pocket, sit down in the seat, and as soon as you push the brake pedal, the vehicle turns on. So I mentioned right here, this button right here to turn the vehicle on, completely and totally unnecessary. I have found the one use case for this was having the lights on to show you during the intro when I wasn't sitting in here. But yes, the vehicle is actually on right now, and I can go ahead and put it back into drive. And now I've got power steering. You can see everything comes on around me, and I can go into further technology on this. So we've got the digital cockpit up here, which is pretty easy to read. We've got the very German long-term memory and short-term memory trip computers. I laugh at that every single time. And then a very easy to read display up here. Everything is right there in front of you, but there is a view button right here that changes up how it looks just a little bit. If you want to see a demonstration of what your car looks like, you can do that there. And then you can actually cycle through different things here on the left side. So you can see there's my CarPlay. If I was using my phone plugged in, I would get some information there, and then the built-in navigation will display it right there. So very nice configurability over here, not too complex, not too overwhelming. And then the screen here in the center, absolutely crisp, crystal clear. The Audi screens that we have sampled both in the A3 and the S5 have been the clearest that we have sampled in any vehicle. It is very quick and responsive. It is wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto that you can also plug up via USB-C, but very snappy and easy to use. A very typical Audi infotainment here. There are limited options of what you can customize here. There is an LED light strip here and some lighting in the doors and in the footwells that you can adjust. Not a lot of options there, but it can be done. And then just some other goodies here in the infotainment screen. And then again, talking about clarity, put it in reverse, you've got a very clear camera there. So I like that a whole lot. And when you put it in park, take your foot off the brake, the vehicle actually turns off. And then when I get out of the vehicle, like if the radio were playing, it would turn off as soon as my rear leaves the seat. So you really never have to do anything with this except get in it and drive. And I like that a lot. It turns out Holly really likes that a lot. I'll let her explain to you why in the video where she's driving later this week. But really cool feature right there in the Audi Q4 Sportback. But all is not well with the technology. There are still some things lacking, which brings me to my number 3 dislike, and back to the center screen right here. So I don't know if you noticed when I put it in reverse earlier, we just get a backup camera. No 360 camera, we just get this rendering right here with your radar sensors giving you a little bit of warning right there. That is all you get. I've been on Build and Price. I do not see an explicit listing anywhere for 360 cameras on any Q4 model. This is the Premium Plus, or the mid-grade, basically, trim level. There is the Prestige that goes one up above this. But again, on Audi's Build and Price website, I could not find an explicit listing for 360 cameras on this model, which I believe at a $60,000 price point, you are severely lacking if you don't have 360 cameras. This works well, but as we've mentioned in previous videos, most notably the EV6 GT family review, getting multiple different vehicles and parking them in our garage, it is absolutely a blessing to have 360 cameras, to be able to park them in there by ourselves and know that they will fit without having to have a spotter to pull the car in our very own garage. I'm going to stay sitting here in the driver's seat because I want to talk about something that I can't demonstrate for you, but can vouch for. And I will go ahead and say right now, I am not an audiophile, but I know a good sound system when I hear it. And this Audi has a Sonos system built in. Now, I know Sonos because I have Apple HomePods throughout my house at home. I'm highly in the Apple ecosystem, so I know that Sonos is very well regarded in the home entertainment space and has some really good home speaker systems. So when I saw that branding here in this Q4, I decided I would test it out, and I was not disappointed. The 3D effect of sound in here is very nice. And since this is an EV, it's very quiet in here, and since this is an Audi, it is built very well, and it doesn't rattle the car to death. It's got a nice amount of bass, and the sound really does envelop and surround you. So I really do like the Sonos sound system in this one. My number 4 dislike of this vehicle brings us back here to the back. So being a Sportback, you do compromise on rear cargo space because of that sloping rear roof line, but you also compromise here with the hatch. I'm 5'10", and yeah, this is not great, and this hatch right here, or latch right here, would be bumping me right in the face. My 5-foot wife absolutely loves how easy it is to find the button for this. This actually works in our garage very nicely. I didn't have to worry about it bumping the ceiling. But for me, at 5'10", the average American male, this is a little on the low side, and not really a big fan of the hard parcel shelf back here in the back either. I don't know why Audi did not put a roller shade. I really did think these died out in the late 80s, early 90s, but I've been getting more and more higher end vehicles with a hard parcel shelf back here. It's been a little bit on the confusing side to me. Instead of a roller shade, you would expect a roller shade. Overall, cubic footage back here is very nice. You do sacrifice again with that shape, but you can see this is our largest suitcase back here. There's plenty of room to spare, and this load floor does actually drop down. So really just the only downside is how low, this hatch, I hit the button there, how low this hatch really opens. It could use just a little bit more range of motion on that rear hatch. But again, going back to the style, it looks good, right? Before I get into my top 5 like and dislike of this vehicle, I did want to get one honorable mention in. When I was talking about the Sonos sound system, I was talking about the build quality of this vehicle, and there's a lot to like about this. If you are into ASMR, this vehicle is for you. The tactile feel of pretty much all of the buttons and switches, just give all this a listen here. So that is just so satisfying. All of the buttons here work very well, and just the tactile feel as you press all of them, very nice. Switching this into drive, or reverse or neutral, pushing park. All of it is very satisfying here. So there's a lot to really like on this. There's even here on the steering wheel buttons, or you can slide your finger across there. All of it is just really tactile and just feels very upscale for this vehicle. And second honorable mention, I didn't really talk about it when we were talking about range and all of the driving characteristics of it, but you can actually engage one pedal driving here. So you have D and B. Pull it back once, you're in drive, and it is notated right there, we're in drive. But if you pull it back one more time, it puts it in B for brake, and that is your one pedal driving mode, which acts as a fully regenerative, or the most aggressive regenerative, not fully, but most aggressive regenerative braking that you can get on this, and it will help convert some of your stopping power back into energy for the batteries. All right, so I'm gonna go in reverse here with my number 5 dislike and like. I'll start with my number 5 dislike, and that has to center around this drive mode select button right here. So you can see when I push it, we've got different drive modes: efficiency, auto, dynamic, and individual. When you put it in efficiency, I will go ahead and do that there, it will actually warn you right here on the dash, and I'll pull you in closer so that you can see that it limits your max speed to 80 miles an hour. On our road trip last night, again, don't want to spoil too much, may have felt the need to put it into efficiency, but didn't really register in my brain this max of 80 miles per hour. If you know anything about Texas highway speed limits, that quickly became a problem because I was trying to avoid a situation. I put the pedal to the metal and absolutely nothing happened, like at all. We just kept coasting along as if I had done nothing whatsoever. And then I realized later on in the evening on our drive home that my max speed was limited to 80 miles an hour. There are only a few things you can do in the middle of a trip to save battery power, a considerable amount of battery power that will impact your range. Your overall speed is one of them, and air conditioning controls are another. So if you want to impact your speed the greatest, yeah, turning off lights inside, unplugging devices, that's not going to do it. Slow it down or turn off your AC. Those are the easiest two ways, and Audi has that built in. I just don't really like that when an emergency situation could arise while you're in efficiency mode and you're just kind of stuck. Not great. That is a very nice segue into this video sponsor. No, it was not Buc-ee's, but rather Electron EV chargers. They supplied us with this 48 amp at-home charging unit, and I absolutely love it. It makes for getting home at an ungodly hour in the morning. Very easy to refuel your vehicle when you get back, and it will charge this vehicle up for me overnight. You can get one of these for yourself, install it either inside like we have here or outside. You can plug it in with the NEMA 1450 plug, or you can actually hardwire it. And you can see we absolutely love ours for all of our press vehicles. If you want to know more about them and get one for yourself, check out the link down in the description below, and yeah, help the channel out in the process. So we'll close this video out with my number 5 like of this vehicle. And with over 600 miles on the odometer since this one was delivered to us for a week of testing by Audi, I've put a lot of seat time in the driver's seat. We do have 2-person memory settings. I like that a lot. You saw earlier when I was talking about the tactile feel, we have 3-mode heated seat cushions. That is a latching feature, so if you turn the vehicle off and back on, it remembers where you had that. No ventilated seats, which is kind of a knock at a $60,000 price point, but it's forgivable. And then very comfortable seats here. They do feel rather tall. You can see, again, I'm 5'10". I feel like these seats go up higher than any other seat I've ever tested. They made Holly look rather short at 5 foot. just seeing how big she was. I did have someone over 6 foot tall riding with me on a road trip, and his head actually did go up above this, but they're very comfortable seats. Didn't get too tired in nearly 500 miles last night. And there is a nice little trick feature down here with a manually extending thigh support. So you can extend how far the seat cushion goes out for thigh support to find just a little bit more comfort there. The passenger seat is also power adjustable, but the driver's seat again is power adjustable with 2-person memory and lumbar. So very nice, very comfortable seats here in this Audi Q4 Sportback e-tron. I really like it. It's been a fun vehicle for us to have. There are some other fun things in this that if you want to know more from Holly and her perspective, be sure and hit that subscribe button down below, because she and Tucker will be along for the ride in a video later this week where we review this as a family vehicle. So hit that down below. Find us on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. Everything is at GT Garage Talk, or you can just head on over to gtgaragetalk.com where you'll find links to everything from there. And we have more fun content on this vehicle coming, including that road trip video I keep referencing in this one. That'll be coming out tomorrow. So be sure and stick around for that and see how this electric vehicle holds up in the Texas EV infrastructure and just all the fun that we did there. But as for me, here in the seat of the Audi Q4 Sportback e-tron, until next time, gearheads, bye.